Good morning and welcome to my backyard. I'm Mark Rogers, a Christian gun owner, and we're here for another in the series of sustainable pistol training. Today's episode is going to be about fighting before you draw your gun. Oftentimes people get guns and they practice with them a little bit, they put them on, they carry them, and they feel like it's the end all to self-defense, when in fact it's just a very small part of self-defense, because scenarios happen where people are not able to draw their guns. If a random criminal assault takes place on you, God forbid, or anybody, it's very likely that those assaults are going to be fast, they're going to be sudden, and they're going to be in such a way that people have to at least use their hands and feet to push off an attacker and get some distance before they can even get to that gun. So what we want to talk about today is how to do that, how to do it as efficiently and quickly as possible. We're not talking about squaring off with somebody to box or getting into the Bruce Lee stance and getting ready to do spinning twirl kicks into somebody's chin. We're talking about a few basic movements that you can practice, you can set up for them, you can practice, and you can sustain that practice over a period of time. You can actually develop the skills, you can develop the strength, the skills, the speed that you need to do to be able to fight before you draw. And we'll show you all that here in just a minute. Show you the equipment first I've got out here. I've got a couple of old bags out here. These have been out, in case these Wave Master bags here, they got water in the bottom of them. That's a very versatile bag right there that you can use. They're pretty common. They'll run anywhere from $120 to $150 according to what you get. But this one's been out here in my backyard now for about 5 or 6 years, and it's still going strong. I put some Gorilla Tape around the top of it there and around the bottom of it, because I have a tendency to come out and hit it with hard objects. So it's not torn or anything, that's just up there to protect it from hitting it with hard objects. Very versatile bag. It raises up and down. It'll come up about that high, but you notice I've got it down pretty low right now because I'll kick it. And what you're not going to come out and use the kind of kicks that you see in Taekwondo tournaments to people's heads, and the dramatic kicks that you see when you're out with your gun and somebody comes at you and you have to fend them off. You're going to be doing some things that are pretty basic, and you're going to be looking for some specific targets to hit so you can push back and get your gun out. So that's one of the tools right there. Another one is this hanging bag over here. That's a bag that used to have water in it. It's got a foam core. I poured all the water out of it, and I've got pine bark in it now. It makes it lighter. I don't want it so heavy that I have to, see how far I can go before I break my wrist on it. I just want something to be able to hit. I want to feel the solid hit, and I want to be able to practice what I'm doing with it. Again, I've got Gorilla Tape on it up there. It's not torn. It's ugly looking, but it's been out here for a long time now, about 7 years. Been hanging right there, and no tears in it or anything, though I'm not sure about what's happening at the bottom of it. But those type of things right there are really helpful. You can get one of those, one type of bag. You can get one kind of bag, and you can buy them just about anywhere, and you can use what's in them, or you can get this type of bag right here and just put whatever you want in them. One of these is also excellent and pretty versatile. The downside of this one is it's got this water cylinder on the bottom of it here that you have to fill up with water to keep it stable, and that kind of gets in your way if you want to get up really close with it. But either way, it gives you the practice you need to do what we're doing right now. Also, what I'll be using this morning is an inside the waistband holster with this Glock 1722 replica here. You can also, excuse me just a minute. If you use it, just practice with something the general shape of what you're going to be carrying, and in whatever kind of holster that you carry with. You can also use something like this J-frame revolver replica. These are the ones I've got here are not expensive. These are not weighted or anything. They just give you the shape and size of whatever gun that you're going to be using. But these are not expensive right here. There are guns out there, practice training guns, that are $300, $400, $500. These are just plastic replicas, and they work very well for what I'm going to do here. I'm using an inside the waistband Kydex holster, just a simple one with a clip on it right here, and that's the one I'll be using to practice with this morning. What I'm wearing here makes it easy for me to show it on the camera, but practice with whatever you wear, whatever type of holster you use, under whatever conditions you carry, to practice this right here. And I'll show you how this works here to start off. What we often might have to do if a criminal attack comes against us is we may have to punch or kick or fend off somebody that is coming at us. And this is simply what you have to learn how to do. You simply have to learn how to punch. You have to learn how to kick. That doesn't mean you have to learn how to do a spinning hurricane kick when you jump in the air and do it. Basically, it's going to be quick. It's going to be a front kick, maybe a side kick. If you want to practice that, it's a good one to practice. It doesn't have to be high. You're not looking for, in these kicks, you're not looking for something high. You're looking for something groin level or lower. Not up here, down here. So when you practice these kicks, practice kicking where you really would kick. Targets that you want to look for, kicking, groin, knees, shins and ankles. But groin and knees is your primary target. Another important one to understand is, if you've never taken martial arts, you've never boxed, you've never done anything that has involved any kind of violent interaction with anything or anybody, learning to punch, just learning to do a reverse punch, just punching, learning how to jab, learning how to, and this one is really important here. You can be standing here with your hands open, arms open. You got somebody standing right here that is one of the people that is accosting you. They're a threat to you. You got somebody standing in front of you. I can stand here and look submissive and just simply throw this hand up to this person's throat right here. And no matter how big and tough anybody is, I have never known of anybody that won't stop what they're doing and grab their throat if they get hit in the throat, no matter how tough they are. So those type things are what's important to watch for. So I'm just going to demonstrate a few times here what I would do to try to get away from somebody if I had to. Standing here just in front of somebody, they may have pulled a weapon, whatever they may have done. Just a simple front kick, moving back and getting my gun out. What that did was just simply serve to give me some distance. Again, this time I'll do it from the front foot. I'm going to do it from my front foot because oftentimes that's what will have to happen. If it comes from the back, it'll be too slow. So you may be standing here just with the foot just kind of cocked here. If it becomes violent, they come in at you, you just use that front foot. Coming in and then pushing back. What you want to do, this is not to start a fight. What it is to give yourself distance between your attacker and you so you can get to that gun. So, coming up here. Remember that when if you're under attack, it's fast, somebody comes at you, they're coming at you, accosting you with their hands, feet, with some kind of weapon in their hand. Everything isn't always going to be exactly right. Your stance isn't going to be just right. So if you're new at this, if you've learned your basic pistol skills as to how to stand and get your sight picture and your arms and all that, if you learned all that, that's great. But understand that in training and in actual life, you're not going to be able to get a perfect stance. You may not even be able to get a perfect grip. You may have a lot of things that don't work out the way they do standing on a flat range shooting at a target. So keep that in mind as we do this. In this type scenario right here, I could be standing here with somebody at my side. That much right there into the throat will make an attacker back up. It'll make them instinctively grab their throat. And that type of impact right there directly into somebody's throat could kill them. It's that effective. So remember, you're looking for specific targets. You're not looking for a fist fight. We're not looking for a fist fight. What we're looking for is to be able to just simply by surprise or by necessity stop an attacker or give us some room between them. So if this one's here, that's what you may have to do. One thing worth stopping right here and mentioning is, in this type scenario that you're practicing for, is to also remember that in this scenario where somebody initiates a violent attack on you and you're having to fend them off, that there is the possibility, as far as getting your gun out, you may not be able to bring your left hand into play. If your gun is concealed and you have to get your garment up, this hand may not be in play to make the draw stroke. You may be fighting somebody off, you may be fending them off. If you haven't hurt them and you're trying to back up and they keep coming at you, you may be continuing to use this hand to fend them off. You may have a hold of a wrist or something there that's keeping them from getting you with a knife or some other blunt weapon, and your hand may be out of commission. There's also the chance that your left arm could get injured and you wouldn't be able to reach down and grab that cover garment and get your gun out. In those scenarios, you got to find some way to get the gun out without it becoming too complicated. Reaching over and trying to, when you're being attacked, reaching over, grabbing your shirt with one hand and trying to get the gun out at the same time with that is likely to be a scenario that wouldn't play out very well for you. Here's something you can practice all the time. You can practice it at home, sitting around. You got to be careful you don't do it too much. People think there's something wrong with you if it gets to be a habit. But that thumb right there is what to remember. This thumb. If you're left-handed and your gun's on your left side, it's this thumb. But if you wear your gun on your hip like I do over here, this hand's out of commission, but you got to get to that gun. That thumb right there is your key. Just remember, bring that thumb up under that cover garment, slide it up, bring it around, and you've got a hold of the gun. That simple, and it works. You can practice this, and again, it's something you have to practice. It needs to be something that you do very naturally. So when you go to the range and you practice shooting out of your concealed carry holster, do it both being able to grab and pull, and do it with one hand. Because the scenarios that we're playing out, that we're practicing for here, could very likely end up in your left arm either being injured or you having to continue to use it to fend off an attacker while you're getting to your gun. You want to be able to bring that cover garment up and go for it. You could try from right up under it, but there's a lot to hit there with a holster and a clip and all that. Bringing it up just in front of it, coming around and grabbing it will work. If you get your thumb up under there, there's all kinds of stuff to hit there, but it becomes very natural to just keep your hand moving up and getting that gun. It's that simple and it's that fast. Now, if you don't wear your gun on your hip like I do, you wear it in an appendix position, which if you're watching this trying to figure all this stuff out, you probably don't. But if you do, you want to come at your gun. You're not going to be bringing your thumb up in front of the gun over here. You're going to be bringing it up behind the grip here. So your thumb comes up this way and around to move your shirt and to get your gun out and get on target. It's up, in here, out. Don't expect everything to feel just right when you're doing it. Just know that when you get that thumb hooked up under there, that's where you're going to get your shirt up and get the gun out. Practice that. Practice coming up this way and going around, this way and going around, or if you carry appendix, come up this way and come down. Practicing that over and over. That's something you can do while you're standing around your house doing stuff. You can do it at work. Just watch out doing it too much in front of people. They think there's something wrong with you. But you can practice it on the range right along with doing this here. Practice on the range, coming up under your shirt with your thumb and drawing and firing. All these things are important. These are things that you can set up, you can do, you can practice, and you can sustain to make sure that you can get these guns in play as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So on this one right here, I'm just going to do this a couple times now that I've talked about it so much. I'm going to do it a couple times facing this way so I'm backing towards the camera. Then I'll move on the other side and do it the other way so I'm backing away from it so you can see a little bit better. Moves are pretty simple, but profound in what might have to take place if you were actually attacked. I'm going to raise the bag up a little bit and do a couple moves on it instead of just one. See what happens here. Remember, you don't always have to use your fist, even when you're up close like this. The palm of your hand can be effective. Kicking and coming up with your hand. So any combination that you have to use will be based on your eyes, your brain working at that particular moment, and what you've been able to practice and develop doing. You may have to cover up, but this is all practice for what you may have to do. So it's covering up, kick, draw. And if you're doing it that fast with a training gun, again, that gun may come out of that holster. Oddly, you've just got to adjust as you can and get it on target. All kinds of ways to use your hands. To advanced martial arts instructors, this may look sloppy, but it's reality insofar as what I'm imagining coming at me, where I might actually have to use a gun. I've seen a lot of plastic gun demonstrations in martial arts classes over the years that frankly are just ridiculous. They'll get you shot. So I'm imagining what's coming at me, and I'm imagining when I'm doing some of this and hitting the bag, I'm not suggesting anybody slap somebody like that. That's me just feeling what I might feel if I was fending something off. So use your hands and begin to get the feel for it is what it is. You never know what's coming at you. You have to use your imagination when you're doing this stuff. But a lot of videos online where you can see some basic techniques from martial arts, which will teach you how to just basically punch with some power, how to combine some very basic techniques, some very, very simple techniques that in this type scenario, you're not starting a fight in these scenarios. What you're doing is you're fending off what's something that's suddenly coming at you. So you haven't got somebody fighting back here. And I would recommend martial arts training for just about anybody, and that doesn't mean, you know, I'm not suggesting that for everybody that gets a gun that you have to go out and take martial arts for years and become a grandmaster at something. That's not what I'm talking about. What martial arts generally does, where there's any kind of sparring or any kind of physical fighting, whether it's point contact, mixed martial arts, whatever it is, you get used to having violence perpetrated on you. Nothing takes the place as far as practice as actually having somebody coming at you hard, trying to punch, kick, take you down, doing a ground attack on you, trying to pin you up down on the ground. There's nothing that takes the place of that type of violence being perpetrated on you in practice. So that if you get out somewhere and you have somebody come at you, it's not how far you've developed in martial arts, it's getting used to and having the mindset that somebody can perpetrate violence on you and not letting that violence in itself cause you to freeze, but cause you to simply react and respond to the violence so you can put some distance between you and them. It's not about, again, it's not about saying who can score the most points or who tap out, because on the street it's life or death. So this is what this is all about. Learn to do these things. Learn to punch. Learn to kick. Side kicks if you can. Well, you actually can. Anybody can pretty much develop that, unless you have some kind of physical debilitation that keeps you from doing it. I understand people of all different ages will be watching this. People of all different skill levels will be watching this. For those of you that are highly advanced, you've been instructors for years, you've been in martial arts, you're martial arts instructors, you don't need this. This is just me getting out here and showing people what they can set up to do, what they can develop, and what they can sustain, because this is about sustainable pistol training, and this is part of it right here, is learning how to fight before you draw your gun, because in many cases that will be necessary. Sustainable pistol training. This is just the next episode in it. Find yourself something that you can practice so you feel the weight behind something that you can hit. Strike with a knife hand, kick from the side. Remember the targets: eyes, nose, throat, especially throat, the groin, the knees, the shins. Those basic targets are what you're looking for in trying to counter an attack, violence on you, putting space between you and an attacker so you can use your gun, if in fact you're able to, even after that. That's what this is about. Find yourself something to hit. You can get one of these bags, you can make your own stuff to lean up against something, and at least where you can feel what it's like to punch something with some heft behind it. If you've ever been in martial arts, you won't have any trouble figuring this out. But just practicing, if you've been in martial arts, practicing what you learned as far as self-defense, punching and kicking, along with making distance and drawing your guns, will give you something that you can develop and sustain that will give you a much better chance if the unthinkable should happen and an attack should be initiated upon you and or your family. You'd be able to react, respond effectively, and stop the attacker in their tracks. I'm Mark Rogers. Hope you enjoyed this session of sustainable pistol training, and I'll see you in the next video.